Hello and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K Facebook Live video. I am just double checking out here that I am live where I want to be and that I can see all of your comments coming in. So I am hopping on a little early with my live today just because my daughter has a little event over at her school that I'm volunteering for. So and that's over the lunch hour, so I had to jump on a little bit early. So hey Karen, thanks for joining, and yep, you actually caught me live, and I see Patricia's here too. So thanks ladies for joining me, and just showing you the card that I'm making today. So we are going to be using the Freeze a Bird stamp set, which is one of the new ones from the upcoming 2019-2020 Stampin' Up! Annual catalog, and it is a good one. You'll definitely want to get it. It's actually bundled with a set of dies that are, they're like a label die. Of course I should have written down the name of it, but I didn't. But they're bundled with a label die that works perfectly with the bird images and the sentiments and everything in here. And it's a great set of dies for lots of other images and sentiments as well. So you definitely will want to get this and get it as a bundle when the new catalog starts and save your 10% on it. So I'm going to set that aside for right now and show you real quickly the card that we're going to be making. So super simple, but that's sort of my style. So showing off a little bit of the new Bird Ballad Designer Series paper and the little Bird Ballad trinkets. I don't know how well you can see it on here, but there's one of those that's on here as well. Hey Kay, thanks for hopping in. All right, so we'll set that aside and get going on my card today. So I did a few of the steps ahead of time just so that you didn't have to watch me, excuse me, do all these things here on camera. So I've got my card base, which is 4 1/4 by 11 and is scored at 5 1/2. And I went ahead and pre-embossed a panel of crumb cake cardstock. Excuse me. Hey Karen, I see the other Karen's here too, so thanks for joining in. So I embossed this with the Pinewood Planks embossing folder, and I think technically that this is supposed to be the upside of the folder, but I actually like the way the back side of the folder looks better than the front side, so I usually adhere it so that the back side embossing is actually up. So hey Teresa, thanks for joining in. So we're going to use a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue, and I'm going to run it around the card front and put it all over. And then I'm going to take the embossed panel, I'm going to lay it on here, generally try and get it where it needs to go. Try not to get glue everywhere. And then I'm going to tap it down here and see if I can get it lined up perfectly. Whoop, hit the camera a few times too. All right, so that looks like that is where I want it to be. So again, embossed with the Pinewood Planks embossing folder and just embossed a separate panel from the card front. I find it easier to emboss a panel and glue it on the card front rather than embossing the actual card front for the most part. It's just easier, looks a little bit better, and from the inside looks a little better too. All right, moving right along. This is a little bit of the Bird Ballad Designer Series paper, and this is cut to 2 5/8 by 3 1/2. And again, all the measurements and details will be out on my blog tomorrow, so no need to worry about writing them down. But you can if you would like to. Just follow along. So, all right, so we're going to use a little snail, and I'm going to adhere it to a panel of basic gray cardstock that is cut to 2 3/4 by 3 5/8. Yes, I'm happy that that embossing folder is carrying over too. I had a moment where I thought it was going away, and I was very sad, but thankfully it's not. So yay, I'm glad that it's there. It's one of my favorite ones. I use it all the time. Between that and the subtle embossing folder, I don't know. It'd be a toss-up on those as far as which one I use more, because I use them both a ton. All right, we're going to go ahead and use a little snail to adhere that to the card front as well. Let me get this over here. And hopefully I'll get it fairly centered on here as we're adhering things together. Whoop, I think that I had it fairly centered and wanted to slide it just a little, and of course then it way-slid. So I think that looks like it's about straight. We're going with it. So, okay, so we've got that part adhered together. The next thing we're going to do is stamp the sentiment. And again, this is from the Free as a Bird stamp set, and the one that we are using today is the sentiment that says, "We're the best of friends." And I'm going to stamp that in Versamark ink, and we're going to heat emboss it. So I will give you a little warning right now if the loud noises are too much. Definitely turn the volume down for a second while we're heat embossing, because it's going to be a bunch of racket when I'm doing that. Just using a little Versamark ink and some white Stampin' Emboss powder on Pool Party cardstock. And I store my embossing powders in these little Ziploc containers, and they're very inexpensive and a great way to store it because it keeps the powder pretty well contained. And it has a lid on it, which is very nice because if you're like me and have spilled embossing powder before all over your desk, you'll appreciate the lid from Ziploc. It's super simple and wide enough that you can kind of have your papers and shake it over the top of everything. So, all right, let's get the heat tool out. And again, I'm going to turn that on, so there's going to be a little racket for a second while it heats up. And there you can see, hopefully on the screen, that it is melting the embossing powder and turning it kind of a bright white color. All right, looks like we are all done. And I'm going to give that just a second, a little quick wave here. Does the embossing powder lose its ability to melt if it gets old? Yes, it does. I don't know that there's any like set rule on that if it's over 3 years old or whatever that it gets icky, but it definitely does. If you start seeing that your embossing powder doesn't really melt, it just kind of goes to like a flat, matte, icky looking finish, it's definitely time to get some new embossing powder, because it does at some point kind of lose its ability to look pretty and shiny and be nice and embossed, and it just looks burnt immediately even if you didn't burn it. So all right, hopefully that answers your question, Karen, but again, I don't know of any like hard and fast rule that it's, you know, anything a certain number of years old is definitely going to go bad, but I do know that it does go bad, and I have had them go bad in the past. So all right, I did do a little bit of Post-it note tape on this die. This is from, I guess I should have started with that, from the rectangle stitched framelits dies, and it was this one, of course, and I've got it way up close to the screen. But this is a big die set that's currently available, and I had a little trouble for whatever reason with this sentiment. It did not want to stay in place when I was running it through. It was getting a little bit crooked, and I didn't necessarily want it to be crooked, so I used a little Post-it note tape and stuck that to the die before I ran it through, and that seemed to hold it in place for me. And I'm sure it's just because my Big Shot plates are old and warped and don't hold quite as well in the exact spot that I want them to. So, and yes, Karen, I do find that the black embossing powder seems to go bad first. So that is the same one that I have had the issues with in the past, is that the black one, my black one went bad. So, but yes, I do know that that does happen. So, all right. So got the sentiment done, cut it out with the rectangle stitch framelits die, and we're going to adhere it to a piece that I cut with just the next size larger rectangle stitch framelits die from basic gray cardstock. Just going to adhere them together real quickly with some snail, hopefully. And try to get it fairly centered. And again, always on camera, I can do, you know, make lots of mistakes. Off camera, usually I don't make too many, but, you know, it happens. So, all right, then we're going to take a little bit of linen thread, and again, this is one of those, it's always easy to do it off camera, and then I get on camera and I can't get it to tie worth anything. But we're going to take a little bit of linen thread, wrap it around the sentiment, the layered sentiment piece here 3 times, and then we're going to attempt to tie a little bow. Hopefully I'll get it somewhat straight and in the spot that I want it to be, which is always challenging. So we'll see how I do. All right, I think we've basically got the start of the bow on here. Hey, Barbara, thanks for joining. So glad that you're here. So all right, I used one of the little bird ballad trinkets on my card. I used the key, hopefully you can see it on there, I used the little key for this card, and decided I would change it a little bit, and I'm going to use a little bit bigger one, whoops, which is the leaves. So that's they're really pretty. They're kind of that antique brass sort of look. I think it's antique brass that this is considered, but definitely very pretty. And we're going to tie that in here. Hey Lisa, thanks for joining from Wisconsin. Are you guys freezing up there still, or is it hot? I know that it's kind of like some areas of the country, the areas that are normally freezing at this time of the year are roasting, and everybody else is freezing, and it's all sorts of crazy weather. So Hey, thanks for joining from Colorado too. And I heard there were crazy tornadoes and things. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what is going on with the weather, but craziness. We suddenly are hot, hot, hot down here, down south. So in Atlanta, we're supposed to be in the 90s today, which is really not my favorite thing ever. I am not so into the heat. So, but I do know that many people love it, just not me. All right, trying not to blow away in Tulsa. So, ugh, goodness. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what's going on, but I do know that I have heard all sorts of crazy weather reports. So we're going to adhere this on with a couple of Stampin' dimensionals. And again, I cut my dimensionals in half down the center. And I do that for things like this, where I want to have a little skinny one that I can stick on, and that will hold my linen thread in place so it doesn't slide off the end. So, hey, Diane, thanks for joining. And Karen, it's an all right bow. It's not an excellent one, but I was glad that I got it done without having to redo it like 12 times, because sometimes that happens when I'm on camera. But we'll trim a little bit of the extras. But today got rain and coming in at high 54. Ooh, that sounds, well, actually I'd prefer that over it being 95 like it's going to be here, and sticky and humid and all sorts of yuck. So, all right, so I'm going to even up the ends of my bow here a little bit. Just trim off hopefully trim off the little bit of extra linen thread. And then the last piece that I'm going to add here on the card front is going to be some of the metallic pearls. And I'm coloring them with the bronze Stampin' Blends marker. And the blends markers work really well for coloring almost any type of embellishment, including a ribbon and everything. You can color all sorts of things with them. So they work very, very well for this, and they dry. If you use the regular Stampin' Right markers, it never really dries, and you're going to end up with a smeary mess no matter what you do and how long you let them dry. So, all right, so I've got 3 of the pearls that I have colored. I wanted them to match the little kind of antique look of the trinket a little bit better. I thought either the silver or the gold were a little too bright. So I thought I would just color them and make them look a little more antiqued and bronzed and whatever. Brass, I don't know. Okay, I dropped it. I saw it go flying. Well, we'll put this one on and see if I can find it. Oh, it's way over there, goodness. Add on one here, and somehow it ended up way up by my ink pad, just because. All right, so there we go. That is it for the card front. Going to be gorgeous in 70, sunny and 70 in New Jersey. Well, I'll be there soon. It'll probably be hot when I get up there. That's usually how it goes. So that's it for the card front. Just added a couple of the little metallic pearls on, and got the Bird Ballad trinkets that we got on here, and a little bit of the Bird Ballad Designer Series paper. We'll finish up the inside real quickly here. Let me get a few of these things out of the way. And I just added a little strip of the Bird Ballad Designer Series paper. We're going to adhere that on to a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and the Whisper White is cut to 4 by 5 1/4. Just adhering that on quickly, and I'm going to snip off the excess here. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you like it. So, putting a little snail on the back, trying to keep it on the card. Finish up the inside is your least favorite part to do. I like it, and I usually just do it immediately when I'm getting the card done, so that it's done and I don't have to go back and try to come up with anything. I just pull something off my desk that I've already used, whether it's the designer paper or the stamp set or whatever, and just go ahead and finish it up on the inside so that it can be all done and ready to give to somebody. So, all right, so I'm going to do a little bit of, a crease with the bone folder, and I flipped it over on the back just because I'd embossed the front and I didn't want to smash down my embossing. So that is it for the card today. So a little different, just changed up the embellishment a little bit. Love doing the inside and the envelopes. See, I'm lazy when it comes to the envelopes. I know Mary always does hers, and I always don't ever do mine. So, because I'm lazy, and I try, like I said, I get the card done, get the inside done, and that's really what I like to do. The envelopes, they're going to get all torn up in the mail anyway. So my thought is that I just make the inside look pretty, and then they can be happy when they open it. So, all right, so that is my card share for today. Thanks so much for joining me. I do have a couple things real quickly. I actually am not going to be doing my live next week, Tuesday. Normally I do them on Tuesdays. Fortunately or unfortunately, that is the day that the movers are here and they are going to be packing up my stamp room. So it'll be total chaos at my house and there will be stuff everywhere. So I am not going to be able to join or jump in and do a Facebook Live next week, Tuesday. However, the following Tuesday is when we are actually probably going to be moving, hopefully moving back into the new house in New Jersey. So I am hoping that, I don't know that I will be able to go live on Tuesday. It'll just kind of depend on where the movers are with everything. But I'm hoping that when my order arrives from the new catalog, that I will probably be going live maybe that Thursday, because I should have some new goodies to show you, and we can talk about the new catalog and all that stuff. So yes, it is next week already. I can't believe, I'm just like, oh, I don't know where the whole month of May has gone, but it's gone. So yep, we are doing the big move. The movers come in next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, and they're going to be doing the packing. And then they load on Thursday, and then we are headed on up to New Jersey, and we'll be setting up the new house just as soon as the movers get there with all of our stuff. So, thank you so much for joining me today, and hope that you all have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. Let me know if you have any questions, and again, I'll be posting all the details about this card out on my blog tomorrow. Again, let me know if you have questions. I am hoping that the move goes smoothly, and we'll be all set up in New Jersey in about, I guess it'll be about 2 weeks, and I will see you all and be broadcasting from there for the future. So thanks again for joining, and have a great week.